Hey, Mike, where'd you get these endless summer movie tickets from?
Whoa, I love those. That's from my Endless Summer box set.
Ooh, where'd you get that from?
The link is in the show notes, baby. Hey, everybody, welcome to the QuiverCast.
You go left, I go right. Man, this wave is out of sight. Going surfing, going surfing, going surfing with friends.
All right, everyone, welcome to the QuiverCast. We have two special guests here representing Hobie. All right, so we're at the Hobie.
This is our Hobie headquarters in San Juan.
All right, in San Juan Capistrano, we have Adam Davenport.
Good morning.
One of the head shapers, right?
Yeah, one of three shapers here at Hobie.
Okay, and we have Kris Carlow here.
Good to be here.
And what's your job, Kris?
Our management is kind of against like
labeling
of jobs. It's very like I guess they call it like a flat hierarchy.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
I guess I just run some of the marketing and I do surfboard production.
Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Right on. Mm-hmm. And then you're pretty much the historian of Hobie, or one of the guys. This is Kris talking.
This is I get called in for some of the history stuff just because, like Adam, and that's how we can get into how we originally met. We were into the history part. First started surfing with the longboarding, aspects, and that dates back well before I was a Hobie. Probably, 37 now, so 20 plus years of longboarding.
Okay, and
always just been into. I don't know if it was just a way of just trying to be different. But it was riding not performance oriented or 2+1 longboards. It was more of like the classic single fin and getting into the history of not only who was Hobie, but also like all the characters that were prominent back in that time period. So that was all the manufacturers. And then about 12 years ago, I landed at Hobie and kind of carried on the moniker, I guess, if you will, of like being passionate about the history of the brand.
Okay. Let's talk about you for a little bit more. When did you start surfing? How old were you?
I was 14 when I started surfing. I moved actually down here from Northern California, East Bay.
Yeah,
I was like a water polo golf guy. I'm still like into golf,
heavy golf,
which I guess like surfing and golf seems to be goes hand in hand these days. Especially with like Kelly, with him just retiring. I think he's probably going to play a lot more golf coming up. He's like a +2 handicap. He's really good. But I moved down here. My parents are actually both from here originally. And then when my dad had the opportunity to move back to San Clemente from Northern California, he immediately got back in the water and then dragged me along with him.
Cool.
Being an older gentleman at the time, he got into riding longboards, and that was like Terry Sennett boards and stuff from legendary Chris Slickemeyer boards.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Like channel bottom single fins.
The twice pipes. And
just so good.
Fine-tuned by Terry Sennett. I love that label.
Yeah, so it started with that, and then
surfing like San Onofre.
Surfing San Onofre. I actually learned at this to surf this little break in between Lowers and Church. I won't name it for the people, but everybody knows where it's at.
Yeah.
I was just getting beef from people who I surfed with the other day. I was like, no one should know about this place, but everybody does. I'm like, yeah, because it's right there. It's right in the middle, man.
Right.
But yeah, just from that, I really got into really learning how to nose ride well. So I started buying boards from this little shop called Icons of Surf.
Yep.
And at the time, it was right across from Anton's Cafe on El Camino Real, the original shop. Started buying remakes of David Nueva nose riders, really getting into like the heavy Volon cloth, about as heavy as they can come, just to feel the momentum and the old school drop knee turns and. Just trying to just feel that glide that you see with those guys in movies like Free and Easy and Golden Breed achieving that type of performance. So really got into that equipment. And then I bought too many boards from Icons and then they asked me to work there.
Oh, cool.
And to manage that store and met a bunch of great characters, got really close with Matt and Margaret from Bing. Was lucky enough to work pretty closely with Chris Christensen from Christensen Surfboards.
Yeah.
He makes a great surfboard, and he was Icons, I think, was one of his first accounts back at that time period. So I got to work with a lot of really cool folks. Even Gene Cooper from Cooperfish was selling his boards there when you could get those type of boards. So it was just a really kind of a really cool I don't know if we went like a niche time period when we were able to.
It was the resurgence of longboarding, and
Right.
that was one of the few shops where you could go into, and like you said, you could see Bosses and Cooper Fishes and Bangs and Christensen's and some of the new like traditional shapers coming up. So when we would go down to San Onofre, that was one of the stops, was to go in that shop and touch rails and then go home.
Okay. Yeah.
It's still around. They still carry a lot of boards from Christensen, and obviously
It's
we
a
have
beautiful.
It's a cool spot.
Yeah.
And they obviously since that time period, more young gun up and coming shapers have come up, and they've always done a good job of embracing some of those new shapers like Baron Miller, and I know they carry a lot of Thomas Bexon boards in there and Dead Kook. So they always done a good job. We try to do that here at Hobie as well. As we're just one brand though, and we're also a retailer, but we're majority a manufacturer. But we try to do the same thing in terms of if anyone's looking to do a collab or looking for an opportunity to start something new, we've always been very accepting of that.
Yeah.
We started doing that, not to jump too far ahead, but when we started doing the Surfboards back in 2019 as part of our partnership here with Adam, myself, and Gary Larson, Michael Aronell, our other shaper, we've always tried to embrace like new ideas. And I think
that's been one of the fun parts is, just you bursting in there and going, make this.
Yeah. There's a lot of,
it's fun because we all get along. We're all friends. So it's, and most of the boards that you like, I like. So
yeah. Adam and I first actually met, I guess is a good time because left Icons and then basically came to Hobie.
Okay.
While I was at Icons, I knew Adam in passing because he was working with a board manufacturer up in the South Bay at that time.
Yeah.
And he was down with his South Bay crew. And I was getting really into riding vintage boards at that time, moving away from Matt and Margaret at Bing were always really nice and hooked us up with boards, but I just wasn't getting the experience I wanted from what was being made currently. So I fell in with a group of Long Beach collectors that rode solely vintage 60s boards. I just started collecting, and it was a really good experience. And they turned me on to a lot of good stuff, and that's where we get a lot of our interest in design.
Yeah.
But I had a 10-1 Rick UFO. That was probably my favorite board. I never should have sold it. It's one of those things where it's like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
But it was really cool because it was a later 60s one, super late. For those who are not familiar with the UFO, some people call it double step deck, but it's more of a foil. Where it's thick in the middle where the paddle area is, but then it gets really thin in nose and tail. So you get that sensitivity on the nose, but also that flex when you turn it.
Okay.
It also has like this really dished out ashtray tail to kind of suck down the tail when you're riding the nose. So mine was super late in that typically that model came with 4 pieces of 1/8 inch redwood, but mine was just 2 pieces with 1/8 inch high density foam offsets.
Yeah, they were blue. I remember.
So it
I
was
still
really
picture
flexy.
that board.
Yeah, really, really flexy. And we talked to each other out there about that board, and then he knew that like 10 years later or whatever that we would be
Circle
working
back.
here together. Yeah.
Adam, so what's your background?
I basically grew up in the South Bay of Los Angeles, Manhattan Beach, El Segundo, Hermosa. Parents are from the area. My grandparents are from the area.
Okay.
So just, growing up being a beach rat, following my dad and uncles around. My uncle's house, there was a pile of longboards out in the back, and it was just take one and go surf.
Yeah.
Being a heavy set, chubby kid my whole life, I knew I wasn't going vertical with the 6'2" Genie slipper. Yeah, I just my dad and uncles rode longboards. They were my surf heroes. Growing up in the South Bay, you had Tyler surfboards, you had Jacob surfboards, you had Becker. So the longboard scene was strong.
It started pretty much there, right?
Yeah. Mainly with those guys and those labels. There's some stuff down south. I don't want to, cause any issues, but the big main area for the longboard revival was the South Bay because that's where a lot of the manufacturers were in the 60s.
Yep.
And my uncle's house was just across the what was train tracks. It's now a green belt, but just right across the tracks from Smoky Hollow, where you had Knoll, Bing, Grant Reynolds, the Pollard shop, the Rick shop. So it was a fun area running around and going and seeing everyone. When I was there, it was, Wayne Miata surfboards and Shoreline glassing and Mangelli glassing. Still, would pop in there and, you sweep up and help take out garbage. And it was just fun wanting to be a part of that. And surfing, you just couldn't help. You had to walk through it on your way to the beach.
Okay. How are the waves there?
They suck.
Where were you surfing?
I mainly started surfing at 26th Street in Manhattan Beach, also known as Bruce's Beach. It was nice because my parents could drop me off. I go to junior lifeguards, did that program. Then I go get my surfboard at the lifeguard headquarters and surf till dark, and my mom would pick me up. And that was kind of the program until high school.
Wow. A lot of water time, but not the best waves there.
Well, my dad would always say, when you go to good surf, you surf well. And you look at all the surfers that came out of the South Bay.
Yeah.
So his theory was pretty correct. We grew up surfing crap, but when we get to the good stuff, it's then you can really turn it on.
So what's the good stuff, like Malibu or like,
Oh, no. I hate Malibu.
too crowded?
Yeah, that place has gone to the dogs.
So bad. It's a good wave though.
Yeah, I like the zone from basically Oceanside down to Cardiff.
Okay. So you guys are making drives.
I'll go surf out front in the morning.
Okay.
Usually I'll go surf like Manhattan Beach Pier, Porto, 26th Street. There's Torrance Beach. Just go out for 45 minutes, an hour, get wet. It's my job to surf.
Okay.
And I feel like when I do surf and I'm surfing, on the regular, I shape better.
I would agree.
No problem. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
There's just something about that feeling of riding waves that you really have to kind of have a mental, physical memory of to do this.
Okay. Do you think this is your personal?
It's okay.
Do you think there's a lot of, especially the longboard shapers, that have walked away from surfing?
Yeah.
Or gotten caught up not surfing? Caught too much in shaping or business or whatever?
I feel like it's hard. It's all about balance. And Kris and I were just talking about it. The older you get, the more responsibilities you have. Yeah, it's tough. You see these little 26-year-olds in their vans and, they're hanging out all day and they're ripping. And it's like, damn, I'm sore today and I surfed okay. And now I'm going to go knock out 7. So I just think that's the normal life cycle. And I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just part of life. If you're responsible and you take care of yourself and your family, you got to work.
Yeah.
You also have to maintain that balance and get out there and get wet. We joke, as you get older, the boards get longer, thicker, and lighter.
Yes. So how did you get into Hobie?
Well, I got into Hobie basically. I was running my own glass shop in Ventura. A friend of a friend, Michael Arnold, got a couple boards glassed at my shop. Hobie was looking for someone to kind of pick up the level on the Endless Summers. And so me being very 60s board building focused, and that's basically what I do is my specialty, my niche. They came to me and we were able to really get it going with the vintage style glassing on those 60s style boards. And then it just snowballed from there. Kris asked me to shape and it was just one model after another. And I kind of fit in really easily with him because we're both enthusiasts of vintage surfboards. And I take it even further because I like the whole glassing process and replicating the glassing process in the 60s. I could stare at surfboards just because I want to look at the glass process and what they were doing and, what was the glasser's, what was his strong points, what was his weak points, were they trying to get him fast? There's all kinds of stuff you can look and tell at the glass jobs, their cut laps. I really get lost in it.
Okay. Do you participate in the glass jobs here today?
Yes, I do. I do a lot of them. I would say I probably do about 30 to 40% of it. Okay. We have a shop in Hermosa, which is the old Rick factory, which is really cool. Yeah, I get in there and glass, and we've got 2 other glassers. I can't do everything. I wish I could. I love laminating. It really is like one of my favorite things to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really passionate about that step.
When did you start shaping your first board, or when did you shape your first board?
I shaped my first board in 2004. Okay. And so basically what I saw in, I think it was Barefoot Adventure when Del Cannon destroys the Walker factory. I was like, oh, wow, you can go get blanks. I didn't know that. And so I told my dad, I'm like, Dad, I want to go get a blank. And he goes, okay, we'll go to Harold's factory. And I'm like, you know this guy? And my dad goes, yeah, we all got blanks from Harold.
Okay.
And so he drove me down to Wilmington. It was scary. It was ghetto. And there's these dogs barking and it's
Junkyard dogs.
Yeah, it was gnarly.
Yeah.
And then he comes in and my dad goes, Harold, this is my son, Adam. He wants to learn how to shape. And Harold walked me out back and he goes, these are all damaged blanks. Give me $20 and you can have whatever you want.
Wow.
So
rad.
I gave him $20 for a blank with it looked like a giant shark bite out of it and took it home. I made a longboard. My dad goes, okay, now make another blank out of that and shape a shortboard. And I basically just shaped it into dust. And I kept doing that a bunch of times until I thought I had something that was reasonable. And then I took it to the glass shop and, well, boy, did I get a earful.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. It stunk. Straight up. It was bad.
Did they glass it though and everything?
They cleaned it up and that was the glass shop. It was Aquatech in Marina Del Rey, Scott Anderson.
Okay.
And I eventually started working there, taking in ding repair, sweeping. I was in college at the time, so I'd work there in the off season and, breaks. And yeah, I just started from the lowest position and, worked my way up.
How was that first board? Did it work?
Yeah, we still have it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I won't let those out into the public.
No. But it's good for you to have.
Yeah, it's a nice humble reminder that
there you go.
No one is perfect or starts out this being a genius or having,
Yeah.
I mean, there's only one guy that I know that probably made his first board really well.
Mm-hmm. Who's that?
Gene Cooper.
Okay. There you go. Okay. So now we'll talk about the history of Hobie. Mm-hmm. So, Kris.
Hobie Alter, he was originally up in the, born up and lived in the Ontario area. And then I guess it was a popular thing back in it would have been the 40s and 50s, is to have like a summer home. So
that was a big thing. A lot of summer homes down
A lot of summer homes. I wish we can get to that kind of level in our current property situation. So they settled it in Laguna Beach. And so Hobie, just a young man, that would have been teenager, was basically doing what teenagers do, waterman lifestyle, fishing. There's photos of Hobie pulling halibut out of, doing abalone down there in Laguna Beach.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like I don't want to say bygone time, but it was definitely different
fishery now.
And back then, a lot of people, I'm sure some people have heard this, but it wasn't as easy to get a surfboard as it is now.
Oh yeah.
So you had to either know someone, like a lifeguard, or kind of either pay attention to Popular Mechanics magazines.
Wow.
They would have like step-by-step instructions on how to replicate, like a Tom Blake, who was one of Tucanamoco's great disciples, how to replicate a paddleboard. Mm-hmm. So he did that most likely with his dad, made in the garage. And then he would go out to Oak Street, paddle around, catch a wave here and there, until one day he came in contact with a gentleman named Walter Hoffman. Hoffman his brother's name was Flippy. They would go on to be, Flippy for sure would be like a big wave pioneer out in the islands. But a lot of people know the Hoffmans as developing Hoffman fabrics, which would be responsible for all the Aloha fabrics.
Yes.
And he had some would consider like the first real surfboard. He had a Simmons, a Bob Simmons.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it was like a sandwich shape, where Bob would do like the balsa rails and then take styrofoam, then sandwich plywood over the top of it. But he had a Simmons original. And then Hobie was like, "Can I try that board?" And Walter let him try it, and they became close friends later on in life. And he tried it, and it's like, this is awesome. This is a way to actually how to ride a wave.
Yeah,
Hobie, I guess he's just, I guess you describe him as a one of a kind person.
Okay,
where that he would take something and look at it and go, you know what, I can instantly, I'm going to make something better.
Okay, and
even at a young age, he was able to do this. So he, kind of like Adam, basically found either through, is it Fost hardwoods or wherever that was?
Fost foam. Yeah.
Fost foam. Like they went and got like balsa wood and
frost lumber. Yeah.
Frost lumber.
Yeah.
He started making his own blanks in his garage.
Oh wow!
And then he started making his own boards for the locals in Laguna Beach.
Yep.
A lot of people don't know this, but the first couple of Hobies aren't numbered. They just have the little surfboards like stamp on them.
Okay.
So a lot of people who say they have like the first Hobie with a numbered serial system, those aren't really the first. He didn't number anything in these in the garage days.
Yeah.
So he got to just over 200 boards.
Out of the garage.
Okay. This would have been, he started in 1950.
Yep.
Making the boards in the garage. This is the balsa era.
Yep.
So for 4 years, man in the garage. And then by that time, 200 plus, like I said, in 54, his dad had finally had enough.
Okay.
So he was laminating them, making them all in the garage. So I don't know if his dad, I don't know if his dad got like a new car.
With the parents.
No, I'm sure.
They don't like it.
Like he had enough.
Yeah.
So he went and purchased Hobie because you could see that Hobie had a potential for something here because people were buying enough for 200
Surfing's
plus.
growing.
Mm-hmm. And on Valentine's Day, 1954, they opened. From what I know, I mean, there's a lot of talk about the first surf shop. Maybe it would have been Velzy up in Manhattan, but for a surf shop made specifically for manufacturing boards on site. A lot of people say that Hobie's was the first.
Okay.
And it opened Valentine's Day, 1954.
Wow. Okay.
A lot of people ask us, was there like a big grand opening? The answer is definitely most likely not.
Just
right.
In 1954, like it's the pre-Gidget era. There might have been like just a few hundred surfers in California at that time.
Let me stop you real quick. Are there any boards that you know that exist from the garage days, unnumbered?
We have it in our Dana Point store. It's supposedly his first board.
Oh, really?
It was cut down by somebody. It was given to us by Surfing Heritage and Culture Center. So it's on display there. And then Hobie's kids held on to his second board.
Oh, okay.
And that is on display in our Laguna Beach location.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And like I said, they just have like the little stamp on there. No numbering system. The second one's pretty cool. I think Adam's seen that one.
Yeah, it's a neat little board.
It's all balsa. When you glued it up, it did 2-inch pieces of redwood, 10 inches out from center. So it's really kind of
beefy.
Yeah, it's a cool looking board. When you look at the old photos of Hobie, like the black and whites from Laguna Beach, he's carrying that board, so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, obviously, I can get you whatever photos for the podcast, to kind of show people what's going on.
Okay. Cool.
According to Dick Metz, who would go on to the gentleman we kind of spoke about in passing.
Yes.
And I'll talk about him more, is he was friends with Hobie. They grew up on Laguna Beach. Dick Metz was a little older. He was maybe a senior when Hobie was a freshman. Yeah, he was there, and he talks about it basically being it was their clubhouse. It was a way for them to escape, maybe bring some ladies over, maybe like have a couple of beers without any like adult supervision.
That's so cool.
They also made a lot of cool surfboards there.
Yeah.
From 54, a lot of people think Hobie was ingenious in that a lot of people like Dale Velzy would come down because of his mind, the way they worked, trying to dissect things and make things better. He had operated and made a jig that would come down from the roof.
The shaping jig.
Yeah. And this was kind of uncommon at the time. And he would be able to route out balsa blanks faster.
Wow.
And a lot of people like Velzy and other folks would come over just to like get a look at it and see like, how can I do this to make this better? But he put it up in the ceiling when he was done so no one can get up there and like look at it with close enough.
So he was trying to keep it a secret.
Yeah. He was definitely like, at that time, like, a lot of things were kind of secret between manufacturers that feel like you're just trying to like beat the other guy at something else. Yeah. But a lot of good, cool folks came out of this time period.
Yeah.
So back then, Reynolds Yater would have been doing lamination and some of the glossing. He would eventually go on to Santa Barbara and start Yater Surfboards.
Yes.
Don Hansen was there. He would go down to Encinitas and start Hansen Surfboards. So it's definitely an ingenious amount of folks in this one area, and then they go on to start their own businesses. The one that stayed with him, probably most iconic, would be Phil Edwards at that time. Hobie had lost or stolen someone stolen some blanks from him, balsa blanks, and he heard that a gentleman was making reshaped boards down at Doheny or somewhere like that. He went down there and it's like just to inspect it, and it was Phil who was hitchhiking up from Oceanside and doing that down there at Doheny and Killer Dana and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he knew they weren't his blanks. Like Phil had not stolen them, but he was just captured by the way that Phil could shape. And then from there, like they started a long relationship that would last decades up until Hobie passed away.
Yeah.
And then Phil would obviously go on to be like the first #1 surfer pole, one of the best, according to a lot of people, like one of the best surfers of all time.
The greatest surfer of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's I'm just kind of rambling, but I'm trying to get all
No,
the
it's all
history in
good.
there.
That's good.
So you have that 54 period onward, and then in 58, probably the most iconic thing that Hobie contributed to the surfboard industry was he basically stopped manufacturing balsa boards to completely R&D the refinement of polyurethane foam for the purpose of making surfboards. For whatever reason, like balsa was not becoming available anymore.
Okay.
It was either that through I guess airlines were using it for
the airline boom. A lot of interiors of airplanes.
you just couldn't get good balsa.
Right. Okay.
And
So he saw a problem and he's trying to solve it.
Trying to solve it
They still made life rafts out of it too, and
for sure.
Korea was ramping back up.
Or the price was so high, maybe.
You just couldn't get good balsa. So I guess the best balsas, it all comes from Ecuador for the most part, or back then it was coming from Ecuador. And you need good female balsa for whatever that means because it's lighter.
It's lighter, yeah. It's
Yeah.
not as dense and stringy.
Okay.
So it's more precise. And I guess they airlines, and then I heard Yater mention that they were using, for lack of a better term, like break over your head furniture in Hollywood films. Like they needed something that would
heartbreaking.
dismantle easily when they hit somebody. So they started using balsa for that. So people were just buying it up. So he saw an opportunity. It was coming down from aerospace. They're bringing samples down. And then Hobie basically stopped manufacturing boards, moved into a factory in Laguna Beach in the canyon. He had known this, but he never really used his talents. But a person who was working for him making fins was a gentleman named Gordon Clark. And he was a graduate chemist. And he was able to help Hobie with the refinement of the blanks, or of the polyurethane foam.
Okay.
Yeah, about a year later, I heard stories from Dick. He was testing the foam so much that he would go out of the shop and he would mix up a batch in a little paper bucket. He would test them by putting them up in the rafters and seeing there'd just be lines of buckets in the rafters of the shop of him just testing how each one changed color or the density of it. And so in 58, 59, they started making the first polyurethane boards, and they were
with Clark.
With Clark, helping him do that. Yeah, essentially just they were called Easter egg boards because the foam back then was pretty bad. It was very yellow.
Yeah.
A lot of air bubbles too.
A lot of air bubbles. So they try to mask these imperfections by painting them these Easter egg colors. So that's why you see the early Hobies with the silver business card were all going to be blue, pink, red, just to kind of mask these imperfections.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hobie would get busy doing other stuff, and I think by the the early 60s, when the foam started getting better and Gordon was figuring that out, he's like, I don't want to do much in the foam business anymore. Gordon, you can have the business, just sell me blanks for $1 less than anybody else.
Okay.
And that's would develop
Perfect
into
deal.
what would be Clark Foam until when Clark closed down.
Yeah.
And then Hobie just he maintained, obviously it was a surf boom in the early 60s post Gidget.
Yes.
So they started selling a lot of what we call pig or stock boards.
Yeah.
And then Hobie would be very instrumental in promoting Phil, because Phil would be the first signature model that would come out in 1963. And then obviously other team riders like Corky Carroll and Joyce Hoffman. I think Joyce was the first female signature model to come out. So Hobie was always forward thinking. Definitely, I've heard from up in the South Bay, collectively, they were probably making the most boards of anybody. But as a sole manufacturer, I've heard sort of Hobie was making the most. Yeah.
Who was helping shape the boards, or was he doing it all?
So he had a
team, probably.
Had a team, and this is I feel like I got to get this out of the way because this happens to me all the time. Is I get 2 or 3 emails every week.
Okay.
People asking about their Hobie. Do we have? And unfortunately, I wish that we were so meticulous in our record keeping that we kept track of every board like Harbor and Bing did. But Hobie had 8 shapers busting out 10 boards a day during that golden era. I've seen boards without serial numbers. I've seen boards with duplicate serial numbers. Those records are long gone.
Okay.
When people ask me with our early 60s board, who shaped this, I really can't tell you. I wish I could, but I just can't. I mean, we were making so many boards back then.
Yeah.
You just can't say. But for main people, it would have been Terry Martin, who would come on in the early 60s. Terry's incredible soul. They called him like the Terry Martin method in the way that he shaped boards. He could do a longboard in 45 minutes.
Impressive.
And he was with us from the early 60s up until the day he passed away. And then the other person, he came on after him, but he kind of like was inspired by his ability to get 10 boards done, was Ralph Parker. Okay. And Ralph Parker just passed away in Cow Beach about a couple months ago. But he was another production guy who would just bust out boards. So between those two guys, they were probably making the most and that people think about. But people come and gone. I mean, Mike Hinson shaped there for a little bit.
Wow.
Obviously, because he was with us for the Endless Summer. And then other shapers of Phil. Yeah, Phil did his model for a little bit. I mean, Terry Martin shaped a lot of them too during that time period because Phil was traveling the surf, like doing more of the athlete stuff. But yeah, that's probably like the two most iconic guys who I can think of as like really contributed towards the label in that time period. Yeah, Endless Summer happened with Hinson and his famous red, white, and blue board, the board that Adam mentioned, that he recreated. And they call it the Dana Point Mafia. You see the statues down there in the harbor.
Yes.
The story goes that it comes from like they all mobbed up to a Greg Knoll party and they dressed up like mafia guys.
Okay.
And they just started a food fight. Dick Metz says that they wanted to treat it as a bar crawl from here to Hermosa Beach. And and you can't get, there's a lot of bars. And so I think they got pretty toasted and it was like, dude, we're not going to make it. And I think Greg was in the middle of doing like a speech. They supposedly all walked in and started a food fight during. Yeah, so
that's so
it's appropriate.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. Like the mafia part, I think ties back to the Endless Summer is that basically at that time in Dana Point, all the powers to be in terms of surf, like media and manufacturing was coming out of Dana Point. You had Hobie making the most boards. Yep. You had Bruce Brown who was living here. He had done the first two movies with Velzy, but had done the other movies with Folk Seymour and Phil and Mike Hinson in the Endless Summer. And then you had John Severson publishing Surf Mag at the same time. So that's why like everybody thinks of it as Dana Point being the mafia at that time, because the people in Dana Point basically controlled what was being disseminated out.
World.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, and I've heard that communicated from people like up in the, like the South Bay. So like those guys kind of, or like down like in San Diego, is that Hobie kind of had the ear of John Severson because they were so close and they were neighbors, and same with Bruce Brown. So he kind of had like an edge on people. Wow. So I think that helped with manufacturing like a lot of boards during that time period. Basically in the late 60s, he was very just really into sailing. Yes. Phil and him had been making catamarans, their own catamarans down there on Beach Road in Cabo Beach. And he saw potential there. And basically I think he was unfortunately going through a divorce at the time and gave the surfboard business to his ex-wife and then totally invested into making catamarans in the late 60s, 67.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What goes on at Hobie Surfboards during this period? His wife having
it was ex-wife. Think about like the surfboard part too is also Nat had come over in 66 with his sandboard, which was 9.4 and a lot smaller. Mm-hmm. You had the impetus of like people going lighter and transitioning. Yeah. Adam could probably touch on it. Everybody kind of experienced the same thing in terms of the 60s manufacturers, that it felt like not a good time because boards were, these guys were from a different time period who started these labels. Yeah. They weren't part of like the hippie movement and the transition era. Like they were making boards, but I've heard stories that boards decreased in size from like 10 feet down to 8.0 within like a 6-month time period. Yeah, yeah. So it's really hard to maintain a consistent product. And I think they also, the employees were doing whatever recreational substance they were doing.
Yeah, of course.
And I think they just got kind of tired of it. And a lot of them either got into different businesses like Hobie with the catamaran, or you could be like Greg Knoll getting into commercial fishing, or Hap Jacobs getting into fishing.
Bing, the storage industry.
Yeah. So it's just like a lot of people, that it was true for everybody. And I think in that time period, not just Hobie, getting out of the surfboard industry, because
they're a little older. Mm-hmm. Yeah, things are changing in their life, and
then they kind of became pictured as like the establishment, and it was like an anti-establishment time period.
Yes, that makes sense.
And then also, the backyard shaping started then. It was just became really difficult, so Hobie had to pivot. And then, from my experience, most people know Hobie from across the world for his making the catamaran.
Yeah, of course.
That's kind of like he brought the ability for, which is very much a aristocratic pastime, in terms of like you're being a sailor and you have to be a member of the yacht club. You could launch a Hobie cat from the beach.
Yes.
And you could get him for an affordable price. And it brought like the common man to sailing.
To recreational sailing. Yeah, for sure.
And people definitely across the country, Europe, everywhere really value Hobie's contribution for that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right on.
Yeah.
So at what point does everything start coming back? So like, I guess during the 70s to what?
The surfboards are always there. So like through the 70s, Mickey Munoz, who was one of Hobie shapers at that time through the late 60s and also a team rider.
Yeah.
I think he was also one of the first guys out to ride Waimea on that one day.
Oh.
He took over as head shaper with Terry Martin.
Yeah.
And they transitioned through the 70s era. And we kept with the team riders like Brad McCall, surf for us. I mean, I think he run his US Open with Chuck Dent boards, but like a lot of people came and gone and from Hobie through the 70s, and they always maintained. Terry Martin made all of Rabbit Bartholomew's boards when he was here in the competing in the States.
Okay.
We had a Hobie Rabbit model at that time. There was always stuff going on, and we also had a great. The team just always developed. I mean, we had the Timmy Patterson, his uncle and his father worked for us.
Oh, okay.
Laminating and then doing glossing and pin lines, making fins. So much so that when Timmy became of age, he started shaping for Hobie. His first gig was making like either the Simon Anderson type thrusters,
that's cool.
During like the 90s or late 80s longboard resurgence, he was making those first Izzy Paskowitz boards. The whole Paskowitz family was, I feel like, instrumental in Hobie as well, because they were like a very nuclear San Onofre family, and they were a part of like that resurgence pre Joel Tudor, pre Devin Howard of like guys starting to ride longboards again.
Yeah.
That was kind of blossomed from there, I guess. Yeah.
So did Hobie have a dip during the 70s and 80s, and then longboards came back in big
For
time
sure.
in the 90s? Early
Yeah,
90s.
I feel like definitely Hobie had a dip compared to what was going on in the 60s during the boom, for sure. And then, Hobie definitely got some of it back with the longboard resurgence, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been probably building ever since. Now there's so you have surfing, just all surfers in general, but then you have subcultures.
Right.
And that's kind of where you guys
Yeah, we're very niche. I guess you could say we definitely want to focus on
in today's world.
In today's world.
Yeah.
There's always been different licensees of backtrack on that is so like the catamaran business itself are all different licensees.
Yes.
The Hobie family maintained the manufacturing of surfboards up until just recently. And then we started doing the surfboards after that.
Okay.
Back then it was definitely, I mean, everybody has their own interpretation of what's right. And I definitely want to say like what we do is right here, but we feel that it is correct in that back then it was way more, and you see this with people talking about the WSL and what makes judging criteria and what board should you be riding. And I can't really speak to like as an authority to what people should be doing, but back then it's definitely let's make 2+1 longboards with a lot of rocker. Let's make them super light. Let's basically make them like a shortboard, for lack of a better term.
Yes.
And we
performance,
right?
Like I guess high performance. Is that different? Is that
Exactly. and in 2019 when we started doing this, we want to get as far away from that and back to our roots and back to what like
Traditional.
Dana Point, and San Juan, and San Clemente and Trestles were all about, and San Onofre. That's what spurred us on into doing the traditional equipment, and that started with our Uncle Buck model. That was a model that Terry designed for a teamer named Bucky Berry. He works in a Dana Point store. He's trying to get on the WSL right now.
Okay.
And so it started with that. And then basically Gary and I started tweaking with like glider models and some of the pintail templates that Terry Martin had made. And then, like Adam said, Adam came on with the glassing. And then Adam and I both have this appreciation for 60s craft. And that's what really spurred on models that you see now on the website, like the Strata Cruiser, the Dana Cove Nose Rider, the Phil Edwards Honolulu models, the 66 Nose Rider, stuff that we make for Ian Gautran, who's like another up and coming surfer. We make his model, his longboard model. Definitely like all of our shapers. We have a great team. We have, Adam mentioned we have 3 shapers, plus we do collabs with Alex Lopez. Adam has his skill sets. Gary has his skill sets. Michael has his skill sets. We try to embrace all those, everything that people can bring to the table.
Yeah.
And then we're lucky to have 2 glass houses that support us with some really great work. The one that Adam mentioned up on Cypress Avenue in Hermosa, and then we have Ocean Works in Santa Ana, and we just try to make the best quality stuff you can find out there for the best price too. I mean, it's definitely like a competitive industry now where if you're gonna get like a full 8 and 6 ounce Volon gloss and polish with a ton of tint or good amount of airbrushing or gloss panels, we try to keep it priced, as affordable as possible. But that's the kind of stuff that you're gonna walk into any shop and see in that $1,800 to $2,200 price point now. Just no way of like getting around that price point with the cost of materials and the amount of labor, not only that Adam puts into it, but that the guys at the factory put into making boards.
Yeah. So Adam, do you guys get orders, or is everything off the racks? How do people purchase boards?
We do a lot of custom orders.
A lot of custom orders. Okay.
We have a supportive dealer network, so we make a lot of custom orders for the dealers.
Okay.
Our Japan dealer likes to pre-book his orders, just like to pull off the rack, so he has his particular tastes. But we also do like a lot of customs too, and we're always, Adam and Gary are always really willing to share time with people in the shaper room. So much so that I feel like we take advantage of them. I just found out that another manufacturer like charges for that.
Oh,
that's
like
crazy.
If you want to meet your shaper, I'm not going to name him, but like you get charged a fee to meet the person that shapes your board.
I don't know
That's
if I like that.
kind of like, that's pretty, I thought that was really odd.
It's different.
Yeah.
I've never heard that, but okay.
Yeah. So
Must have had some bad experiences. That's all I can say.
yeah.
You are now shaping for Hobie. How does that process start? Is it everything hand shaped?
Well,
Or using the machine?
Well, we use the machine,
Okay.
but let me first preface that by saying this,
Yes.
that the machine's been around, like Kris mentioned, since day one with the profiling machine that Hobie invented. So basically, the computer now is just a souped up profiling machine. And all the boards that we have on the computer here all come from hand shapes and rockers that we've put together and we've tested and we've vetted. So nothing's designed on the computer.
Okay.
The computer is just a tool for replication, a tool that allows us to give our customers a consistent product.
Yeah, that's good.
In a little bit faster time. I mean, would we hand shape everything in a perfect world? Yeah, definitely. It pays better. It's way more rootsy. It's authentic. But I don't think you're getting anything different off the machine than what I would hand shape.
I agree with you on that.
And that's my point, is that, it is my shape. It is Gary's shape. It is Michael's shape. So our approach here at Hobie was very different. Nothing was designed on the computer. The computer is just a souped up profiling machine to help us be consistent.
What shapes are you responsible for?
So I'm responsible for the Strato Cruiser, the Dana Cove Nose Rider, the 66 Nose Rider, the Specialist. What else?
Get the Ian models too.
Oh,
the Gato V2.
Yeah, the Gato V2. That's it for now. Kris and I are always working on new stuff. We're always going to the museum. We're always looking through old surfboards. And that's the fun part. That's what I really enjoy, and I think gives Hobie an edge, is that from our boss on down is we're very much enthusiastic. And so when we find an old board that we're both into, it's like, well, let's see where we can take this. And I think that's been our whole ethos since we met in the parking lot. It was just, we love old traditional longboards and we want to keep them going and make other versions of them, utilizing curves, rockers, fins, templates, all that stuff. But, not copying, but just, we like making surfboards and we like making longboards.
What about the fins and the fin setups?
So the fins, a lot of the stuff, or a majority of it, is pulled off the Wave Set catalog from '68. A lot of stuff from Rick, Bing, and Jacobs, and then a lot of the Hobie D fins and a lot of the Phil Edwards templates from what we had back in the '60s. And then we also utilize a lot of our friend Gene Cooper's templates. He's been very nice. We pay him a royalty, but we like that range of fins too.
Okay. Who is the normal customer that comes and buys a board off Hobie? Are we talking about the 16-year-old kid surfing San Onofre? Are we talking about the 60-year-old man? Or
get both.
It's both. Yeah. We get everybody.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Someone just wants to add to their quiver a different board.
For sure. I mean, the social media is such a tool now, and the way that you can get information out there about how a board works and have criticism or do board reviews or see a team rider riding it. So we see a lot of like folks like the younger generation coming in, and especially we get that aspect through the we're trying to get more and more entrenched in that is the coalition, the club events.
Yes.
So you have so many. We were just there over the weekend. You have 14 and under, you have 14 to 20, and then 20 to 27, and like the whole like 30 age group, and everybody's really into it's. We're all of the like mind, riding similar equipment, and it's mostly Santa Fe and Doheny, so our boards work really well for those spots. And they come in and they all come up and ask us like about the latest models and really interested in what Gary's doing or Adam's doing, and definitely we get a younger age group, and then we also get guys who are getting older who coming from either a short board or coming from a different board, and they just like a lot of us as we get older like want a board with more foam or want a board that delivers a different feeling, or from what I find from folks is just in that type of age group is just trying to catch more waves.
100%.
And
100%.
We've experienced with rockers and distribution of foam in a way that helps guys catch more waves, but also not ride a complete dog either. Like it doesn't need to be like a 2+1 super rockered out performance board to do a turn at San Onofre. We've changed up rockers and added bottom contours, and whether it's concave or full panel V, depending on what the guy wants or lady wants to go faster or catch more waves or do a better turn. Like we have enough experience through everyone that's worked here to achieve what they're looking for. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. At the coalition contest, right? Mm-hmm. Do you see a lot of multi-generation driving the same board? Maybe a Hobie dad owns?
For sure.
And bringing it back out, and now his son's going to do it in his 14 and under.
For sure. Yeah, I didn't see, unfortunately, I would like to see it in a Hobie, but I saw a gentleman from San Onofre Surf Club where he's maybe in that like the 40, late 40s, 50 age group. Yeah. And they had a Stewart board, and his son went out there, and he's like 14 and under, and went out and rode like the same board.
Yeah, that's cool.
Just a great thing about the coalition events, and just seeing all the boards and talking to people, and just hearing the stuff, because that's really in this day and age, it's just really where we want to be. Like it's almost it's tough to be a brand because you obviously want to make money. Like you want to
make money.
You want to make a living. You want to get a house. You want to do all these things.
Yes.
But like you also you don't want to become too big where you become like your own enemy. It seems like some brands, especially in this tumultuous time period where they get too big and they have to lay off a bunch of people, or they have to get bought out, or like it's just so we just want to make enough boards so we can pay our shapers, pay our glass houses, be comfortable. And I think that's what we get with the just catering to our local community, whether you're in North County, San Diego, or in San Diego in general, or coming down from the South Bay, or if you're just down the street. We just want to make boards that make people happy, and we just just trying to get by. Yeah.
The good thing about Hobie, in my opinion, is everyone knows who Hobie is. Mm-hmm. Like really,
it's a legacy brand
for sure.
It's one of the first or tied for first as far as labels go, and like you guys said earlier, the brand recognition. It's not just surfboards; it's sunglasses, it's Hobie cats, it's gliders, dune boat.
It's a beach life or ocean lifestyle.
Yes, definitely, it represents that. It's also nice that you see lots of people that come in and bring their kids in. I mean, that was how I grew up. His dad brought me into surf shops, and you grew up going, okay, Hobie is something legitimate. It's not something lame and here today, gone tomorrow, or some hipster label. It has a lot of validity and history, and it's one of the core labels in this sport. Excuse me.
So, Kris, you said community. So what do you guys have going on in the community?
A whole story itself. It's our 70th anniversary as a retail store.
Yeah.
So we opened on Valentine's Day, 1954. And that's a whole another thing in itself with Dick Metz starting our Hobie retail. Whether he was there at the first store with Hobie, then Hobie tried to get into Hawaii with a relationship with George Downing, but that didn't work out. So he went over there with Dick Metz, and they opened a store in Honolulu, and then he opened stores in Maui. And then when the catamaran came back, he basically came back to California open stores all over California and across the U.S. He's brought the experience of Hobie retail to what it is today. A lot of our, we definitely have two. We're the same, but it's two camps. We cater to people because we're a surf shop and we have clothing and we try to provide a service, but we also manufacture surfboards.
Yeah.
So we have a whole team of people here that just try to strive and offer the best goods, whether they're Patagonia, because Patagonia is the only small retailer in Orange County.
Oh, okay.
And we develop our own private label and work closely with brands like Vissla and Florence. So that our team on that side really does a good job. And part of that is the experiences that we bring to people in the stores. So part of our 70th anniversary, we're opening a new store in San Juan Capistrano.
Okay.
We're calling it a collaborative store. So we're partnering with Vissla, Patagonia, and Florence to open a store in the new Los Rios district.
Wow, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really excited about it. It'll be 5,000 square feet. So we're pretty pumped up on that. Adam and I are excited about that. It's like not just a place where we can do events and offer some really cool products, but we get to make more surfboards.
Yeah.
So it's pretty
more
cool.
Surfboards, more surf movies.
But in terms of events right now, and it's even starting this Friday, I guess what today is the 23rd. So, I mean, we're talking about timing on the podcast. So it's probably
so it
long
might
gone.
be after.
Yeah. So this whole series will be continuing into next month and the month after that.
Which sounds super fun and rad.
Yeah. So we're fortunate enough to work with Greg McGillivray.
Oh, yeah.
So Greg McGillivray, he did 4 surf films back in the 60s into the 70s.
Yeah.
We showed The Performers, which was his first film, in San Clemente last month. The stars of that were Rich Chu, and he's also he's an old San Clemente lifeguard. He still surfs Sano all the time, still in incredible shape. We might do another screening of that because that one's has been unavailable for a long time. Is still not available.
Okay.
We had about 50, 60 people show up for that in San Clemente. I feel like people need to see that again. You know, those 60s films are a little longer. So compared to the stuff that you see today with the edits and YouTube, I think it's hard to capture people's attention for those hour and 30 minutes that those old films were.
Oh, that's sad.
I know. It's a different world.
And they had intermissions in between them. So maybe if we bring back the intermission, people will be stoked to go recharge.
Intermission was the best.
Yeah.
Beer run.
So we might do that one again because I think people should see it. But we're starting with Free and Easy. We're doing Free and Easy, which is his second film in Dana Point this Friday. In May, we're doing his third film, which is a transition era film called Sunshine Sea on May 24th.
Okay.
That's going to be in Laguna Beach. So it's like late 60s. Mark Martinson's a big character in that. Billy Hamilton.
Wow.
They're all riding like V-bottoms and stuff like that.
So cool.
David Nueva is definitely a part of that in the Hawaii and the Maui portion. And also, just another tidbit, this is when Nat Young was riding Weber boards. He had started a relationship with Dewey Weber after he won the C6 World Contest. You can actually go see the board up at Surfing Heritage and Culture Center. He rides it at the Duke contest that year.
Okay.
And then he also takes it to Maui. And it's this big, got the bright psychedelic Weber sun on it.
Yeah.
It's very aesthetic-y. It's a cool board. So you'll see that in the film. We also have an event with Rhythm, which is one of our brands, like a little happy hour. That's May 11th in Laguna Beach. And again, May 24th is the Free and Easy. I'm just saying it again, just because I don't want to
It's a good movie.
mess stuff up.
It's a good movie.
So in June, a lot of people know this is the last of the McGillivray films. It's 5 summer stories.
Yes, the biggest, one of the biggest surf movies of all time.
It's awesome. I think that's the first time someone was telling me that's the first time that people saw Jerry Lopez on screen in a film, riding Pipeline. So a lot of people like that particular film. Obviously, it's iconic with the soundtrack and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that would be June 7th. And then our most look forward to thing is we do our own film just that kind of promotes the local community and our team riders. And then we put it on YouTube later, but it's June 22nd. And it's basically like a big party for the whole community.
It's a lot of fun. That was a good event.
Yeah, we did it last summer. We work with a local filmer named, his name's Connor Eck.
Okay.
We put together like a 30 to 40 minute film just about what people are riding and our team riders having a good time. And we put in some like comedic stuff in between there just to lighten the mood. That's the one that I think is going to be like, if you're going to come out for an event, I mean, obviously come out for any of them, but if you're looking for
all of them,
that's the one that's going to be a party. It's just, we're going to have tacos, the whole community to be out there.
Okay.
It's just going to be a really good time.
What store is that one at?
It's going to be at Dana Point.
Dana Point one. Okay.
That one's nice because you see a lot of families at that. Mm-hmm. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, families sharing the Hobie legacy.
Yeah.
When we did it last year for the first time, it was neat to see all the young surfers. Kris and I being in this for so long, it was like, we felt like there was a little bit of young guys and a whole lot of old dudes. And now you're starting to see, a lot of people bringing their kids and young kids, which is nice. It gives hope that, there'll be some renewal and workforce and enthusiasm in the surfing, especially longboarding community.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only two I'll mention real quickly, and a lot of people might be stoked on this, we'll eventually have a grand opening for the new store in San Juan, but that's not determined as of yet, we're still like building that store. It'll be open in late June. The most exciting thing we have going on that store so far on the calendar is that we're going to get Wingnut down. Oh. And then we'll have Pat O'Connell as the sales manager of Florence. And we're going to do an Endless Summer 2 revisited out of that store. And they'll do like a little Q&A.
That's going to be cool.
It's going to be really cool. So people are pumped on that.
Oh,
and then the only other one is way down the road in November 10th. It's a Sunday. We're hosting the Vintage Surfboard Collector Club's big one. It's like a big flea market.
Okay.
So if you're going to buy a vintage surfboard, that's going to be the jam. They'll have the most available, but we're going to turn that into more of a community event. We're going to shut down the La Plaza Park in Dana Point. We're working with the city on that. And we're going to try to bring like a whole new elevated experience in terms of like food offerings, maybe a beer garden, some live music.
Oh, okay. So like a festival kind of thing?
Yeah, we're partying with the guys
Pomona
over...
swap meet of surfboards.
It's going to be cool. Yeah, so one of our good friends, just through years of doing business, is the folks over at Redo Market.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've been to the Redo, yeah.
They're like, I don't know if this is their fourth or fifth one this Sunday.
Yeah.
So they're helping us November 10th with bringing down some of their Pasadena vendors in terms of being more surf related, vintage surf related.
Nice.
So that'll be a good time. For sure. I've been one to go check out.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
And all this is on the Hobie website?
It's on our website and also follow us on social media because we'll post
the link
that all the time.
Instagram and all that.
We do a lot of posting. We try to keep people as notified as possible. As we can.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're just a small little crew, so I make mistakes sometimes.
Yeah, you can't fault you for working hard.
Yeah, there you go.
He has to manage us, so there's a lot on his plate.
What is the state of the culture of longboarding today?
Gosh,
either one of you guys or both of you guys can answer.
Chris first. I'll put you on the hot seat.
Oh man. From our perspective,
yes, of course.
As a manufacturer and as we work with our local communities, I feel like I couldn't be more happy with what we're doing here at Hobie in terms of bringing the certain designs back. Mm-hmm. I mean, in terms of the culture, I feel like we're having an impact on that. Mm-hmm. I see like a lot of people coming to our pages and asking questions. We really like when people ask us questions about our boards because we just really want folks to be knowledgeable about their board decisions. I think a lot of us get portrayed as maybe longboard elitist or snobs, and we couldn't be further away from that. We just want people to have an enjoyable experience out there, and we just think that we make some equipment that could really enhance that experience for that individual. But in terms of the culture, it's hard. Like I feel like here, I was just down at Sano and I was just reminiscing with a team rider, Mason Klink, who's also our San Clemente manager, that I don't think I've ever seen. Well, first of all, so many young people out there surfing, new to surfing.
Yeah.
When I was 15, 16, hanging out at Sano, I don't think I've seen, there was basically like no women down there surfing.
Yeah.
And now I see a ton of women surfing.
Which is cool.
Yeah, which is awesome. But in terms of like a cultural aspect, I think that's great for the sport. It's beneficial. Like, I mean, it shows that it's growing with everybody. We have women that are coming to Adam, like interested in shaping. And
I'm working with a girl right now.
And that's awesome.
And there's
not very many female shapers out there.
Mm-hmm. No, and I feel like it's kind of a really hard thing for them to break into.
Okay.
Yeah, we can go into that on a whole other level.
So
I agree.
I'm not the kind of person that like pays attention to what the tour is doing, and I'm really more tied into like what our shapers want to build and what our the problems that our factory has and the things that our customers want.
Yes,
rather than what's going on. And maybe I should pay more attention to that. As far as right now, in terms of what's going on at San Onofre and Trestles, I feel like the culture is thriving, especially after
I would agree.
Just seeing this last swell with the amount of people out there on a whole array of different equipment. Like I have never seen so many guys at lowers showing up with channel bottom twin fins.
Oh, those are big now. Yeah.
And Timmy, I mean, good for Timmy because he was there in that era. Timmy Patterson was there in that era, and he knew how to make those boards perfect. And I'm glad that he's bringing them back, and guys are embracing, hey, like these rockers work a little better, because lowers is a really good world-class wave, but it's really, it's I don't know how much of it is really best for like the modern shortboard. It's really kind of a slopey wave, and it has great shoulder, but something with a little more foam and maybe a little flatter rocker would work their way better than the potato chips out there. It's not like
pretty gross.
It's not like a barreling beach break.
No, it's not.
It's like kind of a rolling shoulder.
So I'm stoked that people are like embracing that. So from a cultural aspect, I feel like alternatively, we couldn't be, more than happy than the current state. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it's grown, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would agree.
I'd definitely like to reiterate what Kris said is the young thing. Lots of young kids are out there surfing, young boys, young girls. I remember when I was growing up surfing, especially riding longboards, it was an old guy thing.
100%, yeah.
Even, in the 90s and early 2000s at Santos, it was a lot of old boys. And now there's not so many old boys around. There's a lot of kids. and that's okay, because those are going to be our customers for the next 20, 30 years, I hope.
Yes.
You want to balance that out. You want to make the kids hot dog boards that surf and turn and do all the cool stuff that they see Nat doing. But you also want to make boards that are functional too. And so I think at Hobie, we've kind of have our finger on that pulse, is that we can hit, the young hot surfers, and we can hit people who want to catch waves and want functionality, instead of something maybe a little bit more avant-garde and which is more popular, but not as functional. So I feel like the current models we have are applicable. If the little kids like them, then darn well the adults will dig them. So
yes,
kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah. One last question is like, who's on the current team of Hobie? So you said you had a lot.
So
of
we're trying to really grow it right now.
Yeah.
We have a Grom team, a high school team that we try to, with the clubs, like try to help grow that, facilitate that. Our three main folks would be Bucky Berry, has been with us forever. Like I mentioned, I think he's trying to get on the WSL tour for the East Coast run. And then we have Ian Gautran, who's also a very talented surfer from San Juan Capistrano. We make him a model as well. He also can just rip on like basically anything, any shortboard, but he's very talented. Yeah. And then we have a young Ryland Baker. She also has her own model with us.
Cool.
Just really, really talented young lady. She's going to be competing in the up and coming Malibu contest at Queen of the Coast.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So she's really pumped up on the whole contest scene and just being out there more. And
that's a good family. All the Bakers.
All the Bakers,
they're
classic.
Fun to hang with.
Yeah, they're part of the Santos Surf Club. There's a whole
they're a good
family.
Good surfing culture family.
They are for sure. Then we have Michaela Smith, but then she's also a router of us, has been with us for a bit, and we have a good team. And the guys in high school, this kid isn't even in high school, but his name's Kai Esposito. And he just took it. I think he took NSSAs for men's division, but he's in eighth grade.
Wow.
And so
we're a good little surfer.
So we're really stoked to see where he's going to go. He's definitely really, really passionate. He's just a little kid, but he rides a 910 heavy, 8-ounce full on longboard that Adam
Dana Cove
made him, and he can still throw that thing around, which is pretty impressive.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I said, a slew of other, we have some lifeguard guys that have been with us for a bit. So yeah, our team's definitely growing. Definitely help out as much people we can in terms of the high school surf teams and stuff like that. Just because I know those sometimes they need boards. Yeah,
it was different for us growing up in high school with, trying to get these boards is hard. And having a job, and now these kids, we're in a position where we can help them out and get them good equipment, and it's fun to kind of turn the tables a little bit. And we didn't have it, but we can still give back. And here's a fun board for you, and kind of give them a better longboarding experience earlier on, in hopes that maybe they'll stick with it because of a good experience and a good board right off the bat.
Right on, you guys. So I feel like we can keep going.
We can talk forever. Yeah.
So I want to thank you, Kris,
thank
Carlow,
you
for coming on the QuiverCast.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
Adam.
Thank you, Mike.
Davenport for coming on QuiverCast and Hobie for inviting me over here. I'm super
Dude, anytime.
stoked.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, and I'm sure the movie nights are going to be a blast. I'm going to go to one of them.
Dude,
At least two,
Five
probably
Summer
two of them.
Stories. Yeah. Dude,
Five
let's do
Summer
it.
Stories is going to be
I
sick.
think Greg's going to come out personally for that one too, so it'll be
Yeah.
awesome. He has a book promoting Five Summer Stories, so he'll probably come up for that guy.
And everyone,
Yeah.
you can check their website at Hobie.
I think you should well follow us on Instagram.
Yep.
And go
And
check
I'll
out
put that in the show notes.
awesome and our YouTube page. We're just trying to grow it, so yeah. And come on by. I mean, don't be afraid to come by and see us at the stores. Anyone wants to come by and talk about surfboards, we're always happy to do that.
Yeah.
Ask as many questions about surfboards. That's our job to answer them.
Awesome. Well, thanks you guys for coming on the show. This is Mike, Kris, and Adam, and we are out of here. Thanks, guys.
All right, man, this wave is out of sight. Going surfing. Going surfing. Going surfing with friends. Ride this wave to the shore. Paddle out, I'm gonna catch 10 more. Going surfing. Going surfing. Going surfing with friends. I don't care if it's wrong or right. I'm gonna do it all day. I'm gonna do it all night. I'm going surfing. Going surfing. Going surfing with friends. Watching up on my way. It's a beautiful day. I'm going surfing. I'm going surfing. Going surfing with friends. Woo!
Hey, you guys, Endless Summer box set. This thing is legit. It's authentic, numbered certificate in it. It has a 5-frame film strip from the original print. You will literally own a piece of history. It has a specially minted bronze medallion. Dude, that thing's sick. Okay, there's so much more here. Go to the show notes. There's a link on there. Go check this piece of history out. This thing's rad. Seriously. Smithsonian American History Museum has it. It took 4 years of research with 3.5 in production, all hand assembled. This thing's rad. So much to this awesome box set. Remastered DVD, sharper images than the original film, but dude, this thing's so sick. Link in the show notes.